Chapter 6. Olivia was still whimpering when Brittany got to the truck. She hopped in the passenger side and handed Matt the keys, turning around to the little girl. "Do you want to sing songs on our way to the hospital?" Matt was there to drive, but Brittany had no doubt about her part in the day. "Sit back here with me?" Olivia asked. Brittany was out of the truck in a flash, sitting beside the child. She looked at her to see if there was a way her arm could be made more comfortable, but it didn't look like it to her. Instead, she started singing the song the girl had told her that her mother sang as a lullaby. As the words of Puff the Magic Dragon washed over her, Olivia calmed down, her tears drying a little. All the way to the hospital, a 20-minute drive, Brittany sang the song over and over. She was glad her voice was strong from all the hours of rehearsals. Matt pulled up to the emergency entrance of the hospital, and Brittany went in with Olivia while Matt parked. She took the girl to the triage desk and explained what had happened. She was given a form to fill out, and she sat down with Olivia, not bothering to explain she was no relation. Matt would be there in a minute to finish it. She filled out as much as she could, and then Matt came in and took the clipboard from her. As soon as Matt took it, Brittany sang softly to Olivia again, not protesting when the child climbed on her lap. She was happy to hold her as long as she wouldn't hurt her more than she already had. Matt finished the paperwork and took it back to the desk, and they were called in very soon afterward. As they x-rayed Olivia's arm, they made both Matt and Brittany stay out of the room. As soon as she was out of sight, Brittany turned to Matt and buried her head in his shoulder. "I can't believe I hurt her." "What are you talking about? You didn't hurt her. I put her on that stupid horse, not you. But I encouraged her to do it, and she was looking at me when it happened." Matt shook his head, stroking her back. "You're not to blame. How are you going to take care of her?" Brittany asked, suddenly worried about what would happen next. She knew his housekeeper was usually with her during the day, but she got the impression the woman mostly cleaned and didn't spend a whole lot of time with the girl. He groaned. "I hadn't thought of that." He shook his head. "What am I going to do?" Brittany took a deep breath. "If you can have someone else watch her all day Wednesday, I can be there during the day to help. I need to rehearse with my sisters 3 nights a week, and we have some shows coming up, but nothing huge like what we did this weekend. We have Friday night this week, and I think that's all." "Are you serious? You'd really help me that way?" "I'll pay you." Brittany wasn't sure if she should be offended or not. "You do not need to pay me to take care of Olivia. I love her." He frowned. "I know it's not quite 2 weeks yet, but why don't you marry me, and then you can just stay there with us?" No one would say anything, and I was going to ask you again this week anyway. He'd planned something romantic while the sun was setting, but at that moment, it seemed more important to get things settled for the next few days. Wow. What a proposal. Exactly the romantic words I've always been waiting for. She shook her head, but when Olivia was wheeled out of the X-ray room and back into the room where they waited, she nodded. "Yes. There's a 3-day waiting period, but I'll be ready on Friday. We need to get a license tomorrow." "Seriously?" Matt asked. He wasn't sure if she was marrying him for him or because she loved his niece so much, but at that moment, it didn't matter to him either way. He needed her. If she didn't love him now, he was sure it would come. She nodded. "Yup. I'll stay there tonight to be with Olivia. She's going to need help going to the bathroom and everything as she gets used to having a broken arm." He wanted to grab her and spin her in a circle, but he knew he couldn't. Not just then. He looked over at Olivia. "I have some fun news for you." Olivia looked at him. "My arm isn't broken?" It had been twisted at an odd angle, and there was no doubt that it was broken. "No, sweetheart, it's broken. I meant that I'm going to marry Brittany." "And she's going to live with us?" The excitement on Olivia's face made everything come into focus for Brittany. This was the answer. Yes, Brittany said. We can't get married for 4 more days, but after we're married, I will live with you. And tonight, I'm going to stay with you and help you. It's going to be hard to do lots of things with a broken arm. Olivia looked at her arm, almost like she was angry with it. I'm going to need help with my Barbies for sure. Brittany laughed. Of course you are. I can help with them and anything else you need. I want to hug you, but I can't. Olivia said with a frown. What will they do to my arm? They need to set it, which means they're going to line the bones upright, and it's going to hurt a lot, but then it will heal properly. After they set it, they will put a cast on it, which will make it hard, and it will heal. And then it will stop hurting? Olivia asked. Yes, it will stop hurting once it heals. It's going to be about 6 weeks, though. That's forever. Brittany smiled. I've known you for 2 weeks. So as long as I've known you 3 times over. The doctor came into the room then, putting the X-ray picture up on the wall for them to see. Here's where the break is, but it looks like a nice clean break. We're going to set it and then put a cast on it. He looked at Olivia for a moment. You're a strong girl, sitting there and not crying. Olivia nodded. It hurts, but Brittany sang Puff the Magic Dragon to me the whole way here. Brittany? You're not her mother? No, sir. I'm dating her uncle, who has custody of her. We're getting married Friday. The doctor nodded. I see. Well, she might need some more singing to make it through this. Brittany nodded. I'm ready. She moved over to the head of the bed right beside Olivia, ready to sing her heart out. They left the hospital 2 hours later, and Olivia had a bright pink cast on her arm. It's pretty, she said, showing it off to Brittany once she was in her car seat. Would you sit back here with me again? Of course I will. Brittany climbed in beside Olivia and leaned forward. Do you think we could run to my apartment and get clothes for tomorrow really quick? I don't need to be home until about 6, but I'm going to need stuff. Absolutely. He drove the opposite direction from his home toward the woodlands, where her apartment was. Olivia was asleep by the time they arrived, thanks to another 6 or 7 runs through Puff. I'm going to run up and get my stuff. See you in 10 minutes. She jumped out of the car and sprinted up the stairs, hurrying into her apartment. Stephanie was sitting in the living room, working on her computer as usual. How was the writing lesson? Stephanie asked. Brittany turned to her, shocked that she didn't know about the last several hours. She sat down. I'm only here for a minute. So I got there, we coaxed Olivia onto the pony. She felt confident, so Matt let go, and she fell into the fence. She broke her arm. I'm here for a change of clothes to go out and stay overnight, and Matt and I are getting married Friday. Stephanie's jaw dropped. Are you kidding me? You and Emily got engaged on the same night? I guess we did, though Chris did it right and not in the emergency room while his niece was being x-rayed. That must have been some proposal. It was. Brittany sighed. I'll talk while I pack if you want to come with me, but I need to get going. They're waiting downstairs in his truck. Stephanie followed Brittany into her room and sat on her bed. So wedding on Friday? Seriously? It would be tomorrow if there wasn't a 3-day waiting period in Texas. Brittany threw some clothes into a bag. I wanted to wait a little while, but Olivia needs me there with her, and I'm not going to live there, even just to help out with her, until we're married. Old-fashioned values and all that. Hey, we were raised by the same parents. I'm surprised you're going to stay there at all before you marry. I am, too, but I have to. Brittany hurried into their shared bathroom and packed her toothbrush and some basic makeup. She didn't wear a lot, but she didn't want Matt to see her without until he'd signed on the dotted line and they were married. Once her bag was packed, she hugged her sister. "Is Em in bed already?" She said she hadn't really had any naps all day, and she was exhausted. Stephanie grinned. Emily slept more than anyone else they knew. "Give her my news in the morning, then. I'll be here in time for rehearsal tomorrow night." "All right. Give Olivia a kiss for me." "I will." Brittany hurried out to the truck and climbed in the passenger side. Since Olivia was sleeping, she could sit in the front and be comfortable. She glanced over her shoulder to make sure she was still sleeping, and she could see a grimace on the little girl's face. "How would you feel about stopping for something to eat? I was just about to have supper when I got your text." "I'm sorry. You must be starving." "I am, but she was more important." Matt covered Brittany's hand with his. "I'm so glad we share priorities." "We do. We both love that little girl." "Where do you want me to stop?" he asked. "Would you be all right with running through Taco Bueno? I want a chicken potato burrito and a beef nacho salad." He nodded. "There's one about 10 minutes from the ranch, so I'll run through that one." He kept his eyes on the road while he brought up a topic that needed to be discussed. "So I have a spare room next to Olivia's, or you're always welcome to share my room." Brittany blushed, shaking her head. "I appreciate the offer, but I'll stay in the spare room until after the wedding." "Really?" She nodded. "My parents brought us up with a pretty strict moral code. I will happily share your bed Friday night, as long as we've said I do on Friday afternoon." He smiled, nodding. "All right. Will your sisters be there when we marry?" "They will if we want them to be." "I just remembered. I have a gig on Friday night." "That's okay. Olivia and I will come watch you." "In a bar?" "It won't hurt her, but she's not allowed to drink anything but Shirley Temples." He frowned. "No, she's not allowed to have soft drinks. She can have apple juice or pineapple juice." Brittany shook her head. "My mother would freak out, but that's fine by me. It's kind of an upscale bar and not a place we should be afraid to take her, I don't think." "Good. Then I won't be afraid to take her there. I'll call Chris, and we'll watch you together. Maybe he can bring another guy to meet Stephanie." "No more guys for Stephanie. Joe was a disaster, and I think Stephanie's scarred for life. I feel bad for my part in that. We should have found someone who we knew better and could trust." "Do you believe Stephanie is actually talking about going to a matchmaker?" "I don't think she's decided yet, but she hates the idea of living alone. She found someone through a friend who matches people at the altar." "Sounds like a disaster to me." He pulled into the Taco Bueno drive-thru. "Are you serious? I've never heard of such a thing." When the voice from the speaker spoke to him, he gave her order and ordered a couple of combination burritos for himself and a taco for Olivia. "Seriously? I didn't know they did stuff like that either, but she thinks it's the only way she'll ever get married and be happy because she's so nervous around men. I don't know how she thinks she can sleep with one a couple of hours after meeting him, but more power to her." When they got to the ranch, Brittany woke Olivia. "We're home, sweetie. Uncle Matt got you a taco. Are you hungry?" Olivia nodded. "How can I eat a taco with only one hand?" Brittany picked her up and carried her inside, careful of her cast. "I'll help you. And I'm going to stay here tonight to help you get changed and stuff. Everything is going to be hard with one hand. And you're still marrying Uncle Matt? Right?" "Of course I am. I think my sisters should be at the wedding, though." "And do you think you can carry flowers with just one hand?" Olivia's eyes grew wide. "I get to be the flower girl?" "Of course you do." Brittany followed Matt into the house and set Olivia in a booster seat at the table. Wow. I've never been a flower girl. I have a feeling this won't be the only wedding you get to flower girl for this year. Brittany reached into the bag and pulled out a taco, opening the paper it was wrapped in and setting it in front of Olivia. Thankfully her left arm had been broken, and Olivia was right-handed. I'll try. Olivia reached for it, and Brittany watched her, ready to jump in if she needed help. I'm doing it. Brittany smiled and sat down, getting her nacho salad and burrito out and handing the combination burritos to Matt. I'm going to eat mine, then. Yours looks yummy. It is. As they all ate, Brittany wondered what she'd agreed to. She loved Olivia, and she was very attracted to Matt. Was that a good enough foundation for a marriage, though? Chapter 7. After eating, Brittany took Olivia upstairs, changed her, and got her ready for bed. She helped her do the little things Olivia usually did on her own. Once she had brushed her teeth, Brittany led her to her bed and tucked her in. It was her first time to see the ranch house, other than the brief time she'd been there getting Matt's keys for him earlier. She was surprised at how spacious the place was. Matt had said he'd grown up in the house. Okay, do you need your song before I go to bed? Olivia nodded. Puff, please. Brittany nodded, singing the song softly. She didn't have the best voice of the three sisters, but it was still strong and pretty as she sang the lyrics the little girl loved so much. After she finished, she kissed Olivia's forehead and tiptoed out of the room. The girl was already asleep. Closing the door, she walked to the room beside Olivia's and found her bag on the bed. Matt must have gone back to the car to get it for her. She was rummaging through the bag for her pajamas when she noticed Matt, looming in the doorway, looking at her with a half grin on his face. Hey, she said, looking at him. What are you doing here? Thinking about how beautiful you look in the room that was mine when I was a boy. How many girls did you sneak in here? She asked, narrowing her eyes at him. I'd better not just be one in a line of women. He chuckled softly. I was too busy playing with horses in high school to notice girls. He walked toward her, a slow stalking walk. I think I've figured out what to do with them now, though. His hands went to her waist, and he lowered his head to hers, kissing her passionately. Her arms went around his neck as if of their own accord, and she moved closer to him, losing herself in the kiss. His hand stroked down over her back and cupped her bottom, pulling her into him more. She finally pulled away from him. I think we're just going to need to not do that until after the wedding. We're just tormenting each other. He groaned low in his throat. I don't want to keep my hands off you. You're living under my roof, and we're getting married in 4 days. I know. I just don't feel right doing anything until after the wedding. I'm sorry. I can go home if that will make things easier for you. As she said it, her gaze went to the wall, separating the room she was sleeping in from Olivia's. I do think it's best to stay here and help her, though. He ran his fingers through his hair, messing it up badly. I want you to stay. He kissed her briefly. Good night, Brittany. Good night. Brittany watched him go, wondering how she could be simultaneously racked with guilt and proud of saying no all at once. She shut the door and changed, going into Olivia's bathroom to brush her teeth. She wished they could be married sooner, but it just wasn't possible. When she fell into bed, she tossed and turned for hours, wishing that she could sleep easily in a strange bed, in a strange house, with a very familiar man down the hall who wanted to do naughty things to her. Asterisk. Brittany woke up early on Tuesday, hurrying into Olivia's room to check on her. Olivia's eyes opened just as Brittany opened the door. You stayed. I told you I would. Brittany walked over and sat on the edge of Olivia's bed. How are you feeling? Is your arm hurting? Olivia looked down at her arm in the Barbie pink cast. A little, but not as much as yesterday. I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to take a quick shower and get dressed, and then I'll come in and help you. Do you need to go potty first? Olivia shook her head. I'm okay. I'll just lay here until you come back. Sounds good. Just as Brittany was about to shut the door behind her, Olivia called. Brittany? Brittany turned. Yes? I'm glad you stayed. I love you. Brittany felt tears pop into her eyes. I love you, too, sunshine. As she showered, she wondered if she was marrying Matt because she loved Olivia so much, and she concluded she wasn't. Not really. Yes, she would probably have made him wait a lot longer if the little girl wasn't involved, but she loved Olivia with everything inside her. And she was mostly in love with Matt. She definitely lusted after him. Her shower was quick, and she dressed in shorts and a tank top. She wasn't about to be hot for anything. She knew her mother would be scandalized by her dress, and she realized she didn't care. She wouldn't be seeing her anyway. When she'd finished, she put her bag with her things in it back into her room, and then she went to see Olivia. The girl was watching for her to come back, and her face lit up when she saw her. Are you ready to get up? Olivia nodded. I want pancakes for breakfast. Do you know how to make pancakes? Brittany grinned. I sure do. If your uncle has all the ingredients, we will make pancakes. Oh good. Brittany helped Olivia dress, being especially careful of her injured arm. Together, the two of them went downstairs to find Matt sitting at the table with a cup of coffee. As Brittany watched him for a moment, she realized just how lonely and sad he looked. Good morning. She called, so he'd know they were there. Matt smiled, glancing in their direction. His whole face changed when he saw the two of them, hand in hand. Morning. Olivia wants pancakes for breakfast, so I promised her that if you have everything I need to make them, I'll do it. Sounds good to me. He looked down at his coffee cup. I was just going to have coffee and sneak out, but you can sure get me to stay with pancakes. Don't forget we need to get our marriage license today, too. We want to be ready to marry on Friday when we can. Finally. I wasn't sure you still wanted to get married. Matt watched her carefully as she looked at him with surprise. You're not getting out of it so easily, Matthew Sullivan. We said Friday, and we're getting married Friday. He smiled. I called my pastor, and he said he would marry us Friday afternoon if we wanted a small church wedding instead of a civil ceremony. Brittany nodded, excited. I would love that. I hated the idea of a civil wedding, but not as much as I hated the idea of waiting longer to marry. Then let's have pancakes, and we'll go get a marriage license. After they had taken care of that piece of business, with Olivia in tow, he dropped the two of them off at the ranch. Be good. We will. Brittany and Olivia went into the house and up to her playroom. The house had at least 6 bedrooms from what Brittany had seen. She hadn't looked at all of it yet, though. Want to play Barbies? She asked, knowing what the answer would be. Yes. Olivia squealed, opening a closet that was overflowing with Barbie pink. Brittany looked through the closet, picking out just a few things. She knew that Olivia liked to play with her camper and her horse, and she chose a couple of cars. All of her Barbie clothes were in a bin, and she opened it. I think Barbie should go camping, then horseback riding, and then she should go to a ball with Ken. Olivia sat down on the floor, nodding. That's a great idea, but you're going to have to dress the Barbies. Chapter 7. After eating, Brittany took Olivia upstairs, changed her, and got her ready for bed. She helped her do the little things Olivia usually did on her own. Once she had brushed her teeth, Brittany led her to her bed and tucked her in. It was her first time to see the ranch house, other than the brief time she'd been there getting Matt's keys for him earlier. She was surprised at how spacious the place was. Matt had said he'd grown up in the house. Okay, do you need your song before I go to bed? Olivia nodded. Puff please. Brittany nodded, singing the song softly. She didn't have the best voice of the three sisters, but it was still strong and pretty as she sang the lyrics the little girl loved so much. After she finished, she kissed Olivia's forehead and tiptoed out of the room. The girl was already asleep. Closing the door, she walked to the room beside Olivia's and found her bag on the bed. Matt must have gone back to the car to get it for her. She was rummaging through the bag for her pajamas when she noticed Matt, looming in the doorway, looking at her with a half grin on his face. "Hey," she said, looking at him. "What are you doing here?" "Thinking about how beautiful you look in the room that was mine when I was a boy." "How many girls did you sneak in here?" she asked, narrowing her eyes at him. "I'd better not just be one in a line of women." He chuckled softly. "I was too busy playing with horses in high school to notice girls." He walked toward her, a slow stalking walk. "I think I've figured out what to do with them now, though." His hands went to her waist, and he lowered his head to hers, kissing her passionately. Her arms went around his neck as if of their own accord, and she moved closer to him, losing herself in the kiss. His hand stroked down over her back and cupped her bottom, pulling her into him more. She finally pulled away from him. "I think we're just going to need to not do that until after the wedding. We're just tormenting each other." He groaned low in his throat. "I don't want to keep my hands off you. You're living under my roof, and we're getting married in 4 days." "I know. I just don't feel right doing anything until after the wedding." "I'm sorry. I can go home if that will make things easier for you." As she said it, her gaze went to the wall, separating the room she was sleeping in from Olivia's. "I do think it's best to stay here and help her, though." He ran his fingers through his hair, messing it up badly. "I want you to stay." He kissed her briefly. "Good night, Brittany." "Good night." Brittany watched him go, wondering how she could be simultaneously racked with guilt and proud of saying no all at once. She shut the door and changed, going into Olivia's bathroom to brush her teeth. She wished they could be married sooner, but it just wasn't possible. When she fell into bed, she tossed and turned for hours, wishing that she could sleep easily in a strange bed, in a strange house, with a very familiar man down the hall who wanted to do naughty things to her. Asterisk. Brittany woke up early on Tuesday, hurrying into Olivia's room to check on her. Olivia's eyes opened just as Brittany opened the door. "You stayed. I told you I would." Brittany walked over and sat on the edge of Olivia's bed. "How are you feeling? Is your arm hurting?" Olivia looked down at her arm in the Barbie pink cast. "A little, but not as much as yesterday." "I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to take a quick shower and get dressed, and then I'll come in and help you." "Do you need to go potty first?" Olivia shook her head. "I'm okay. I'll just lay here until you come back." "Sounds good." Just as Brittany was about to shut the door behind her, Olivia called. "Brittany?" Brittany turned. "Yes?" "I'm glad you stayed. I love you." Brittany felt tears pop into her eyes. "I love you, too, sunshine." As she showered, she wondered if she was marrying Matt because she loved Olivia so much, and she concluded she wasn't. Not really. Yes, she would probably have made him wait a lot longer if the little girl wasn't involved, but she loved Olivia with everything inside her. And she was mostly in love with Matt. She definitely lusted after him. Her shower was quick, and she dressed in shorts and a tank top. She wasn't about to be hot for anything. She knew her mother would be scandalized by her dress, and she realized she didn't care. She wouldn't be seeing her anyway. When she'd finished, she put her bag with her things in it back into her room, and then she went to see Olivia. The girl was watching for her to come back, and her face lit up when she saw her. "Are you ready to get up?" Olivia nodded. I want pancakes for breakfast. Do you know how to make pancakes? Brittany grinned. I sure do. If your uncle has all the ingredients, we will make pancakes. Oh good. Brittany helped Olivia dress, being especially careful of her injured arm. Together, the two of them went downstairs to find Matt sitting at the table with a cup of coffee. As Brittany watched him for a moment, she realized just how lonely and sad he looked. Good morning, she called, so he'd know they were there. Matt smiled, glancing in their direction. His whole face changed when he saw the two of them, hand in hand. Morning. Olivia wants pancakes for breakfast, so I promised her that if you have everything I need to make them, I'll do it. Sounds good to me. He looked down at his coffee cup. I was just going to have coffee and sneak out, but you can sure get me to stay with pancakes. Don't forget we need to get our marriage license today, too. We want to be ready to marry on Friday when we can. Finally. I wasn't sure you still wanted to get married. Matt watched her carefully as she looked at him with surprise. You're not getting out of it so easily, Matthew Sullivan. We said Friday, and we're getting married Friday. He smiled. I called my pastor, and he said he would marry us Friday afternoon if we wanted a small church wedding instead of a civil ceremony. Brittany nodded, excited. I would love that. I hated the idea of a civil wedding, but not as much as I hated the idea of waiting longer to marry. Then let's have pancakes, and we'll go get a marriage license. After they had taken care of that piece of business, with Olivia in tow, he dropped the two of them off at the ranch. Be good. We will. Brittany and Olivia went into the house and up to her playroom. The house had at least 6 bedrooms from what Brittany had seen. She hadn't looked at all of it yet, though. Want to play Barbies? She asked, knowing what the answer would be. Yes. Olivia squealed, opening a closet that was overflowing with Barbie pink. Brittany looked through the closet, picking out just a few things. She knew that Olivia liked to play with her camper and her horse, and she chose a couple of cars. All of her Barbie clothes were in a bin, and she opened it. I think Barbie should go camping, then horseback riding, and then she should go to a ball with Ken. Olivia sat down on the floor, nodding. That's a great idea, but you're going to have to dress the Barbies. I'm good at dressing Barbies. They played there for over an hour before a woman stopped beside the door. You must be Brittany. Olivia has talked about nothing but you since the rodeo. I am. I'm Brittany Kelly. I'm Doris Hill. It's so nice to meet you. Good to meet you too, Mrs. Hill. The woman looked to be at least 50. Mrs. Hill smiled. Just call me Doris. I've worked for this family for a very long time. When are you joining it? Brittany smiled and blushed a little. We're planning a wedding for Friday afternoon. Something small. I knew it. I knew as soon as Matt said he had someone he wanted Olivia to meet that you'd be marrying him. He's not one to play with his niece's emotions. Doris looked excited. Do we want to have a reception hereafter? Brittany shook her head. I have a performance that night. We won't have time. Doris nodded. I understand. You should make sure to get Olivia a new dress. I assume she'll be flower girl? Yes, she's already agreed. I'm going to have the prettiest flower girl in all of Texas. Olivia nodded. I've been practicing my walk, and we'll need a dress that matches my cast. Do you think we can find one, Brittany? I'm sure we can. Brittany started thinking about the days. I'm going to call and cancel my students for tomorrow. I need to be here with you. I'm going to go to the room I slept in and do that, and tomorrow we'll shop for dresses and flowers that can be held in only one hand. Okay? Sounds good. Olivia looked after Brittany sadly for a moment, before she turned to Doris. Do you want to see my cast? Brittany made her phone calls and called her parents as well. Hello? Hey, Mom. It's Brittany. She and her sisters always announced themselves when they called a parent, because they frequently grabbed whichever phone was close and just called, leaving their parents befuddled, because their voices were so alike. Hi, Brittany. What's new with you? Well, we sang at the Bear Creek Rodeo and again at Rebel's Saloon last weekend. Her mother sighed. I don't mind you singing at the rodeo, but I wish you girls would stay out of bars and saloons. I know, Mom, but our career is starting to really take off. I'm glad for you girls. Maybe when you're making enough to quit your jobs, you can replace the hours you usually work with college. Brittany was starting to regret calling her mother. Maybe. Look, Mom, I was calling to let you know I'm getting married Friday. Married? To a man I've never even met. Well, it would have to be, since I've never taken a man home for you to meet. That's true. We're getting married in a little church to the east of Houston. In Crosby. Where did you meet this man? Are you going to keep singing with your sisters? This is a lot to drop on your mother with 3 days' notice. Brittany sighed. I met him at the rodeo. I will keep singing with my sisters. He asked me to marry him just last night, so you have almost as much notice as I do. Give me the address and the time, and I'll see if your father and I can make it. Thanks, Mom. I always appreciate the support. Brittany knew her mother wouldn't understand the sarcasm, but she still couldn't keep it from slipping out of her mouth. Sometimes it was just too hard to be sweet and amenable when her mother made her absolutely crazy. She rattled off the time and address of the church before hanging up. She paced back and forth in the little room for a minute, rubbing the back of her neck to try to de-stress. She didn't want Olivia to see her upset at all. When she went back into the room where Olivia was playing with her Barbies and Doris was standing over her, she plopped down on the floor with the little girl. We're going shopping for the prettiest flower girl dress in all of Texas tomorrow, Olivia. We need to make sure we get the car seat from your uncle. Or we could take his truck. He wouldn't mind. Olivia made her Barbie slide down a slide and into an imaginary pool of water. Can we go see Buttercup today? He probably feels bad that I got hurt. I think that's a really good idea, Brittany said. But you can't get on his back again until Uncle Matt is around. Olivia nodded. I won't. I can't climb up with my arm the way it is anyway. She frowned down at the cast. I hope Buttercup doesn't think I don't love him anymore. He won't. We'll visit him every day and feed him carrots. Does he like carrots? Olivia asked. Sure he does. Carrots are sweet. Who doesn't love sweets? Olivia seemed to agree with her reasoning. Can we see him after lunch? I need to eat first, because it feels like there's a giant monster in my tummy, and he's angry because he hasn't been fed. Well, then we need to go get some lunch. How do grilled cheese sandwiches sound? Yummy. Olivia got to her feet. Brittany led Olivia to the kitchen, and they found Doris there. Are you two ready for lunch? Doris asked. I thought I'd make grilled cheese sandwiches, Brittany said. Oh, you sit with Olivia. I'll make them. It's no trouble for me at all. Well, can we go give Buttercup a carrot while you're cooking, then? Brittany asked. Doris opened the fridge and pulled a carrot out, handing it to Brittany. Here you go. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Brittany said, taking Olivia's hand in hers. As they walked toward the paddock, she did a little skip, which Olivia immediately imitated. Are you excited to see Buttercup? Yes. It feels like I haven't seen him in forever. I'm sure he misses me. When they got to the paddock, Olivia took the carrot. Here you go, Buttercup. We're still friends, aren't we? She patted the pony's nose as he ate the carrot, and she giggled. We are still friends. I knew you would be. Buttercup is too nice to ever hold a grudge. You can be friends with him forever. Brittany watched closely as Olivia petted the horse, but she could see there was no animosity in Buttercup. We can go eat now if you want to. I'm hungry. Olivia patted Buttercup once more. I'll come out and bring you another carrot later. Or maybe an apple. Hurrying back to the house, Brittany smiled at her little charge. She couldn't wait until she was her aunt. The two of them would be best friends forever. Chapter 8. A few hours later, when it was time for Brittany to leave for her rehearsal, Olivia hugged her legs, begging her to come back. I need help getting into my nightgown, and who will put toothpaste on my toothbrush? Brittany hugged the girl close. Well, my rehearsal is near my apartment. I'll get more clothes, and I'll come back tonight. I should be here before your bedtime. Will that work? Olivia nodded, brushing away a tear. Thank you. You're welcome, Munchkin. I'll be back as soon as I can. Okay. Brittany hurried to her car and drove to the band's rehearsal room. The band played for a few different groups in the area, but they spent most of their time with the sisters. They had their own rehearsal space, which helped them. Brittany spotted Emily first and hugged her. Best wishes. I hear I'm supposed to say the same thing to you. I can't believe you're getting married already. This Friday. What about you? Have you thought about when? Well, I have news for you and Stephanie, and I'll tell you together and then explain. Emily looked around for a moment until she saw Stephanie walking toward them. I came straight from work. I haven't even seen her today. Brittany frowned. I haven't either. I spent the night at Matt's to help out with Olivia. Her poor arm. Stephanie told me. Emily shook her head. Are you going back tonight? I am. Are you working Friday? No, not Friday. Do you want me to be your maid of honor? Yes, but I'm asking Stephanie, and I think you should, too. Shouldn't we take turns doing it for each other? Emily asked. No. We're both getting married, and Stephanie isn't. I don't want her to feel left out. That's a good point. She probably will anyway, and maybe that will make it better. Great idea. Thanks. I do have them on occasion. Brittany grinned at her sister. Stephanie was there a moment later, looking a bit lost. I can't believe I'm the last sister standing. Well, you are. And I have news. Emily was practically jumping up and down in her excitement. Bigger news than both of you getting engaged on the same day and marrying? Stephanie asked. I don't know if it's bigger news for us as sisters, but it's bigger for us as the Kelly sisters. Brittany and Stephanie both looked at Emily. You have our attention. Spill it, Brittany said. We're playing at the Rodeo Nationals in Vegas in December. We'll be playing at Cowboy Christmas. Emily squealed as she said the words. Are you kidding me? Brittany asked, still not quite certain her sister was telling the truth. Stephanie's jaw dropped, and she stood staring at Emily for a moment. No way. Emily nodded emphatically. I have a contract in my possession. Wow. Brittany was still a little flabbergasted. The past few weeks had been a roller coaster. The lead guitarist motioned for them. Hurry up, ladies. We're booked for another rehearsal after you. The three sisters hurried over, and Emily told the band. Vegas? The drummer asked. I'm in. They all laughed as they played the opening notes for Lipstick on My Jeans, which was their traditional warm-up song. Asterisk. Wednesday morning Olivia was feeling a little better, but more than anything, she was excited to go shopping for her flower girl dress. Brittany put her in her car seat in the back seat of Matt's truck, and the two of them set out for a few bridal shops in Houston. Brittany had made appointments at each of them, and she was sure they'd find something for her and for Olivia before the day was out. She'd given her sister carte blanche on her maid of honor dress. Then when it came time for Emily's wedding, the same dress could be worn. At the first bridal shop, they found a dress that Olivia loved. It was pink and had little sparkles on the short, puffy sleeves. It was everything Olivia had ever wanted in one dress. What could be easier? When it was time for their appointment, Brittany explained their time crunch. I know I'm not going to get something perfect with 2 days' notice, but I'm hoping for something that I'll be able to look at the pictures in 20 years and be happy that I wore that dress. The woman nodded. You know, we might be able to make this work. She led her to the back with the changing rooms and all of the mirrors. Brittany was a little overwhelmed by all the mirrors. Will you trust me to bring you something that will look good on you? Brittany nodded. I'm a size 3 usually. All right. That gives me something to go on. Jessica disappeared and came back 5 minutes later holding 3 dresses. If there aren't a lot of alterations, I could get any of these to you Friday morning. All right. Let's do this thing. Olivia sat on a chair in the waiting area while Brittany tried on the first dress. She wished she'd thought to bring at least one of her sisters, but she hadn't, so it was all up to Olivia. When she put the first one on, she didn't like how it gaped at her sides. She was tiny, and she had a very slim waist. She wanted that to show in her wedding dress. Why had she been working out all these years otherwise? She showed Olivia, who shook her head and crinkled her nose when she looked up from her learning video game system. Olivia says no, Jessica. Olivia is the boss of me. Olivia giggled at Brittany's words, and Brittany and Jessica disappeared back into the changing room. The second dress felt a lot better to Brittany and, from what she could see and feel, would need no alterations at all. She may have to choose that dress, simply because it fit so well. She liked it, but she wasn't in love with it. When she showed Olivia, the little girl said, "Better, but try the last one." As soon as the last one was slipped over her head, Brittany knew it was the right dress. She looked in the mirror and saw herself, with no glasses on, and she felt like she looked like one of Olivia's fairy tale princesses. Brittany stepped out and carefully watched Olivia's face. That's it. That's the dress, Brittany. Brittany nodded. I thought so, but I needed you to agree. You do need a couple of small alterations, but they can be done tomorrow, and you could even pick up tomorrow afternoon if you'd like. That would be perfect. Brittany glanced at the price tag for the first time, and she had a minor heart attack. With the recent shows, and now Vegas, she knew they could afford it, though. We'll take this and the flower girl dress we found for Olivia. Is Olivia your daughter? Jessica asked as she put a couple of pins in the dress to mark where it would need to be adjusted. She's my fiancé's niece. She's going to live with us, and we're all going to live happily ever after. Right, Olivia? Right. Olivia grinned, holding up her arm. I broke my arm when I fell off my pony, Buttercup. Oh, I'm sorry you're hurt, Jessica said. Buttercup is a very nice name for a pony, though. I think so, too. Olivia returned to her game, now that her injury had been acknowledged. 20 minutes later, they left the shop, and Brittany called to cancel the other appointments she'd made. I think we need to go to lunch to celebrate. Where should we go? McDonald's? I want to play in the play area. Brittany frowned, wrinkling her nose. How about Chick-fil-A? They have a play area, too. I would like that a lot, Olivia said. They have the best nuggets in all of Texas. I think so, too. And their lemonade is to die for. Please don't die, Brittany. I need you. I won't. And I need you, too, baby girl. Asterisk. There was no rehearsal that evening, and when Matt came in at the end of the day, Olivia was actually excited to see him. She was becoming more and more outgoing the more time she spent with Brittany. Even if he hadn't been in love with the woman, he'd have married her just so he could watch Olivia come out of her shell. "I got a dress today, and it's pink and sparkly. I'm wearing it for your wedding. You'll like it." Olivia took his hand and pulled him toward the stairs. "You need to come to my room and see it." Matt didn't bother to greet Brittany, but he knew she'd understand. His niece was actually excited to see him and show him something, which meant he needed to see it and be excited about it. When they got to her room, the dress was hanging on the doorknob of her closet. She pointed to it, and he smiled. It looked like he'd expected from her. "It's a beautiful dress. I love it." They went back downstairs, and he greeted Brittany with a kiss. "Did you find a dress half as beautiful as Olivia's?" he asked. "I found one that's just perfect for me. I can pick it up tomorrow after 3. The alterations will be done by then." "That's wonderful. So what else do we need to do?" "Well, the housekeeper is going to take care of food for the small reception here. You already have a pastor and a church. That means I need to get a few flowers going, and we'll be ready to go." "Wow. You've been working fast." "I didn't have a choice. Someone needed to get married on Friday. So I think Olivia and I will go get my dress tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have a lunch with my sisters. I'm going to keep her in town with me tomorrow night, so we can get ready for the wedding in my apartment. You can't see me before the wedding, of course." "Well, of course not." He grinned. "I can't believe it's really happening." "Neither can I. I've been working toward it, but it still seems like it's just a dream." "I can understand that." He shook his head. "Do you know if dinner's ready?" "So you're happy to talk about the preparations I've made for our wedding as long as you're not hungry? Is that it?" "Oh, we can talk while I'm hungry, but it would probably be best if I was also shoving food in my mouth. I do have a tendency toward hangry." Brittany shook her head. "Emily is that way. She makes me crazy sometimes." "I'll probably make you crazy, too, then." She walked close to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Maybe a kiss would take your mind off your stomach." "I know it would take my mind off your stomach." He grinned, lowering his head and kissing her softly. "Yeah, that worked." Brittany felt something against her leg, and she looked down. Olivia was standing there, leaning against her. "Are you guys going to be kissing a lot?" Brittany laughed. "We are." "Does that bother you?" Olivia shook her head. "My mommy and daddy kissed all the time. I liked it." "Why did you like it?" Brittany asked, wondering what the girl was thinking. "I don't know. It made me feel safe, I guess. Like my mommy and daddy would always love each other and love me." Olivia shrugged. "Well, that makes a lot of sense to me," Brittany said. "I'm glad it makes you feel secure. So will me kissing your uncle make you feel the same?" Olivia nodded emphatically. "Yes, I think it will. We'll make sure to kiss lots and lots, then. I'll stock up on chapstick." "I like chapstick." Olivia gave her approval. Matt laughed. "I'm going to check on dinner. It's probably ready, and you two are lollygagging and wasting my time when I'm hungry." He walked off. "Well, he's crabby, isn't he?" Brittany asked Olivia as soon as he was out of the room. Olivia sighed. "Men are always crabby. It's the burden we women have to bear." Brittany laughed hysterically. "Who told you that?" "My mommy told me that." "Well, your mommy was brilliant, then." Brittany reached out and hugged the little girl to her. "I think you're pretty awesome." "You are, too. I can't wait till you're my real aunt." "Can I call you Aunt Brittany?" Whenever you're ready to start calling me Aunt Brittany, I'm ready to start hearing it. Matt walked out of the kitchen. 5 more minutes and dinner will be ready. She gave me a piece of bread to tide me over. I'm on bread and water rations for 5 more minutes. You're being just a bit melodramatic, don't you think? Matt shrugged. I'm good at it. You're good at a lot of things. Brittany shook her head at him. Olivia is excited to be able to call me Aunt Brittany. Olivia is a smart girl. I can't wait to call you my wife. He kissed her again, and Olivia sighed happily. You guys are going to love each other forever. I just know it. Brittany frowned, realizing they hadn't used the L word with each other yet. That was all right, though. She loved both of them, and that's what mattered most to her. She knew that Matt needed her to help with Olivia, but that was all right. As long as she was still able to perform with her sisters and not have to teach music lessons any longer, she didn't see herself being too bothered by things. She did want his love, though. Something inside her knew she needed it. Badly. Chapter 9. The morning of the wedding, Brittany woke early and knocked on Stephanie's door. Stephanie was the one who did their hair and makeup for concerts, so she wanted her to do it for her wedding. Stephanie came out, yawning. Shower and wash your hair, and I'll be ready to fix your hair and do your makeup when you're done. Brittany nodded, hurrying into the bathroom. She quickly showered and went into the living room wearing a robe. Normally she made sure she was at least in pajamas in the living room, because she had been raised to be modest, even with the 2 women who looked identical to her. This time, though, she wanted to be able to remove the robe without messing up her hair. Her hair was blow-dried and Stephanie was going after it with a straightener when Emily came out. I'm going to run and get us something for breakfast, Emily said. It's our last breakfast together as single ladies. Don't forget to grab something for Olivia, too, Brittany said, flinching a little as Stephanie moved the straightener toward her face. I'm not going to burn you. How many times have I done this to your hair? Stop freaking out. Stephanie shook her head as she continued working on her sister's hair, getting it to look perfect for her wedding day. They took a break between hair and makeup to eat, so Brittany went into her bedroom and woke Olivia, who had been overjoyed to sleep in the same bed as her future aunt. It's time for breakfast. Are you hungry? Olivia nodded, and Brittany helped her use the restroom. She still had trouble with only one arm. Then they went out to the dining room and had pancakes and bacon with her sisters. I just went to Whataburger and got all of us pancakes and bacon. I hope you're okay with that, Olivia. I don't mind. She waited as Brittany fixed her pancake with butter and syrup and cut it into little pieces for her. They were halfway through breakfast when Olivia seemed to spot Brittany for the first time all day. Your hair looks beautiful, Aunt Brittany. Brittany smiled. My sister Stephanie is great with hair and makeup. Olivia looked at Stephanie. Somehow she'd figured out how to tell them all apart immediately. You could do my hair if you wanted. Stephanie grinned. I would love to do your hair. Thank you. Brittany hid a grin. She wondered if Stephanie realized she'd just been conned into doing the hair and makeup of a 5-year-old. I think that's a great plan. By the time it was time to head for the church, they were all ready. When Brittany stepped out of her room in her wedding dress, her hair ready and her face done up, Emily grinned widely. I hope I look half as beautiful on my wedding day as you do right now, she said softly. The 3 sisters hugged tightly, with Olivia squirming her way to the middle of the hug. Brittany looked down at her and laughed. You're going to be mine forever, won't you? Olivia nodded emphatically. I will. They took 2 separate cars to the church, and Brittany and Olivia snuck in the back and hid in a room designated for brides there. When it was time, it was Emily knocking on the door to tell her. Did Mom and Dad show? Brittany asked. Yeah, Dad is waiting to walk you down the aisle. Brittany breathed a sigh of relief. After her discussion with her mother earlier, she hadn't been sure if they would come. I'm going to the front of the church for bridesmaid duties. Mom is going to tell Olivia when to walk, and you. Sounds good. Brittany wasn't sure she would have felt married if her parents hadn't been there with her. She walked out and saw her father, who spoke with a hoarse voice. You look beautiful, Britt. That dress is just amazing. Thank you. Brittany hugged her father and took his arm, ready to walk. She had Olivia ready, her good hand clutching a bouquet of wildflowers. She would have had bluebonnets if it had been earlier in the season, but in the summer, wildflowers would have to do. Brittany's mother smiled at her and nodded. You really do look beautiful. I can't believe one of my babies is actually marrying. It seems so strange to me. Mom, this is Olivia. She's being raised by her uncle Matt. The man I'm marrying. Brittany could see on her mother's face that she had just realized this girl would count as her first granddaughter. I'm going to be your grandma. Olivia smiled. I never had a grandma. I'll like this. Her mother indicated when it was time for Olivia to walk down the aisle, and the little girl did great. There weren't a ton of people in the church, but definitely more than Brittany had anticipated on such short notice. It's your turn, baby girl. Her mother stood with tears in her eyes looking at Brittany. Brittany and her father walked slowly down the aisle toward Matt, who stood at the front of the church with a big smile on his face. He couldn't seem to take his eyes off her, which Brittany thought was probably a good sign for the future. When she reached the front, her father kissed her cheek and disappeared to sit in one of the front rows. Throughout the ceremony, Brittany paid as close attention as her flittering mind would allow. Matt was about to be her husband, and she was going to spend the rest of her life with him. Who could ask for more? When the pastor invited him to kiss his bride, Matt turned to Brittany and pulled her into his arms, kissing her sweetly. He wished he could carry her off and make her his wife in reality right then, but he didn't think her parents or any of their other guests would appreciate that. He'd be able to make love to her soon enough. Finally, much later that day, after the short reception and the concert in town, they were able to get ready for bed. Brittany tucked Olivia in and kissed her cheek. Now you're my niece for real. Olivia smiled. You're the best aunt in the whole wide world. I can already tell. Brittany laughed. I will do my very best. She left the room and closed the door softly, heading down the hall to the master bedroom. Her heart was pounding so hard it felt like a drum was trying to beat its way out of her chest. She wanted to make love with Matt, and she'd had to stop herself from letting him make love with her before the wedding, but now that it was the time, she was nervous. What if she was terrible at it? It's not like she'd had any experience. When she walked into the bedroom, Matt was nowhere to be found, which relieved her mind a great deal. Emily had given her a tiny little teddy to wear for her wedding night, and she quickly slipped it on, then dove under the covers. She wished she had the courage to just stand there and let him see her, but she didn't. When Matt walked into the room a few minutes later, he saw her huddled under the covers and smiled. Just know that I'm taking those covers off of you as soon as I get over there. Brittany couldn't help but grin. Is that so? Yup. I'm going to be looking at every inch of you as I touch you. And I get to do the same? She asked. Of course. He quickly stripped and walked over to the opposite side of the bed from where she had buried herself. He slid under the covers beside her and moved close to her, cupping her face in his hands and kissing her softly. His hand roamed down over her, grazing the side of her breast. She gasped at how good that felt. Never had she been touched there by another person, and it felt fabulous. I have no idea what I'm doing, she said softly. That's okay. I'll teach you. An hour later, she lay with her head on his shoulder, panting slightly. I think I like doing that with you. He chuckled. Well, I know I like it. So plan to do it often. All right. She pulled the covers up over her and sighed contentedly. I was worried I'd mess up and you'd never want to do me again. Oh, trust me. I'll want to do you hourly. That's just how it works when you're married to the most beautiful woman in all of Texas. When you're married to one of the three identical most beautiful women, I see you as your own person. And you are the most beautiful, Brittany Sullivan. She had a smile on her face as she drifted off to sleep, still held close to him in his arms. Asterisk. Because she had no obligations over the weekend, Matt suggested the three of them drive down to Galveston to spend time on the beach. Brittany nodded, liking the idea, but she wasn't sure if it was a good idea to take Olivia. How would you feel if I had Stephanie watch Olivia for the weekend? They get along great, and I'm worried she won't have fun, because she'll get sand up her cast, and it just won't be the kind of experience she wants. Would Stephanie mind? He asked. He hadn't thought of actually leaving Olivia with anyone. Let me call her and ask her before we make any concrete plans. She quickly grabbed her cell phone and made the phone call, still wrapped in covers from the night before. Matt had no qualms about running around nude in front of her, but she just didn't feel comfortable doing the same. Hello? Hey, Steph. This is your favorite sister, asking for a huge favor. What's the favor? Stephanie sounded a little wary. I was hoping you'd stay here this weekend and watch Olivia, so we can go to Galveston. If that doesn't work for you, then I understand. There was a slight pause. You know what? I can do that. I have a deadline Monday, but if you guys are back by even 2 Monday morning, I can still hit it. Do you want me to start driving out there? That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Brittany looked at Matt and nodded. She's on her way. They showered together before dressing. Once they were ready, they both went to talk to Olivia, but as usual, Matt let Brittany lead the conversation. She had a way with Olivia that really surprised him with as little time as they'd known one another. How would you feel if Aunt Stephanie came to spend the weekend with you while your Uncle Matt and I go on a honeymoon? Even though Stephanie and Emily weren't technically Olivia's aunts, they'd decided to have her use the title as a courtesy. Olivia seemed to consider it. I like Aunt Stephanie a lot. I think that would be okay. When would you be home? Aunt Stephanie would put you to bed for 2 nights, and when you woke up on the second morning, we'd be home. Oh. That doesn't sound bad. Olivia nodded. Yes, I want Aunt Stephanie to come play with me. Does she like Barbies? She loves Barbies. We played together all the time when we were little girls. Though her mother had been against Barbie, the three of them had been able to overpower her. She and Olivia had packed together, while they waited for Stephanie to arrive. You need to be extra nice to Aunt Stephanie. She'll help with anything you need, but she's not used to little girls like I am. I'll teach her how to be a good auntie like you are. Olivia helped her zip up the suitcase. I'm going to miss you. I'll miss you, too, but I know you're going to have fun with Aunt Stephanie. You couldn't do much if you went with us, because of your cast. I'll go with you next time, and I won't have a cast, and we'll be able to play. I love to play with you. Brittany carried her bag downstairs, realizing she still hadn't completely moved out of the apartment. She and Olivia would have to work on that during the week. The drives would be more fun with the little girl talking to her and the music playing low in the background instead of blasting out her ears. They had only been waiting a couple of minutes when Stephanie got there. I don't even know where Matt is, Brittany said as she opened the door. He must be letting the men know what he needs them to do while we're gone. Call me if there's any kind of problem. You know we can get back quickly. There won't be a problem, will there, Olivia? We're going to play Barbies until our eyes fall out of our heads, won't we? Olivia giggled. I want to keep my eyes in my head. That's probably for the best. Stephanie grinned, ruffling Olivia's hair. I brought stuff to fix your hair, too, so we can play beauty shop. Oh, that would be fun. As the two of them talked, Brittany felt better and better about the weekend. They really would do fine together. Matt walked in from outside. Are you ready? He asked. I am. Stephanie is here, and she knows to call if there's a problem. Olivia will tell her where to sleep. Sounds good to me. Let's get out of here so we can get there early in the day. Do we have reservations? Brittany asked. Yeah, I called. We're staying on the beach. Wonderful. Brittany hugged Olivia close. Remember to be good for Aunt Stephanie. I will. I'll be the best little girl ever. Good girl. Brittany turned to Stephanie and hugged her as well. Thank you so much for being willing to do this at the last minute. It's not like I have a life or anything, Stephanie said with a laugh. It was a hard laugh, though, and it worried Brittany. Have you made any decisions about that company you were thinking of contacting? Yeah, I'm going to call Monday. I need to get matched at the altar. There's no other way I'll ever be able to talk enough to marry. Well, that'll be good, then. With a last wave at two of her favorite people, Brittany headed for the door. See you Monday morning. We'll still be here. Matt took the suitcase from her and stowed it in the back seat of his truck. Alone at last, he said, waggling his eyebrows at her. I thought it would never happen. Chapter 10. Brittany had been going to Galveston all her life. It was an easy vacation destination, just an hour from Houston. When they had crossed the bridge onto the island, she started to get excited. She'd always loved playing on Galveston. He looked over at her, seeing her excitement. It's like this is your first time in Galveston. I've been here more times than I can count, and I get this excited every time. She realized then she hadn't even told him about playing at the Rodeo Nationals. Guess who was playing at Cowboy Christmas? Matt blinked a couple of times. Are you serious? Those are the big leagues. I know. You'll go, too, won't you? What about Olivia? We'll take her. There are lots of fun things to do in Vegas for kids. I want to take her. All right. Works for me. He grinned. I've never been to the finals as a spectator. Should be different. James Nixon won the bull riding at a rodeo in Idaho, and we'll get to see him. He's an old friend of mine. I can't wait to introduce you. He was on the circuit at the same time Chris and I were, and we always competed against one another. But now that you and Chris are gone, is he always going to win? Nah. This is his last year. His dad is retiring in December, and he's taking over the family ranch. Oh, really? Where is his family ranch? She had no idea there were so many Houston area ranchers who also did rodeo. She shouldn't be surprised, but she was a little. This area. I think it's about 30 minutes from mine. He's not single, is he? Maybe we should set him up with Stephanie. Matt frowned. He is single, but he's too outgoing for Stephanie, I think. He's pretty boisterous. Probably not a good idea, then. I do want Stephanie to be happy, and she's planning to call this matchmaker who introduces people at the altar tomorrow. I just wish she could avoid having to do that. I want her to marry for love. With her words, Brittany realized she wanted something for her sister that she herself didn't have. She had married, and there had been lots of attraction on his part, but the love seemed to only go one way. She should have married for love as well. She said nothing about it, though, because she didn't want him to realize she was sad. Not on their honeymoon. Matt glanced over at her for a second, hoping she'd say that she loved him and that's why she'd married him, but she didn't. Instead, he drove straight to the hotel, where he'd arranged an early check-in. He was paying for 2 nights, even though they'd have to leave in the middle of the night the next night. At least they would have time alone together. Maybe being alone with him would help her to realize that she did love him. He hoped so anyway. Once they were checked in, they changed to head to the beach. I prefer the prettier beaches of South Padre, but Galveston is the one I know best. I need to spend some time in the sun. He grinned. Time in the sun is good. Do you have your sunscreen? Yes, I do. I know better than to spend 20 minutes outside in the Texas sun without it. I burn like a lobster. I just tan, he said smugly. She stuck her tongue out at him. I think milky white is a great color. It sure looks good on you. Trying to stay out of the doghouse, she asked, one eyebrow arched. I'm not in it yet? Oh, good. I worried for a minute there. She shook her head as she headed to a less crowded part of the beach. She wished she could go somewhere secluded, but there were no such places on a Galveston beach in the middle of June. She sat on the towel she'd brought, and he put sunscreen all over her. When he was done, she turned to him. It might have been better if we'd done that in the room. Then we could have let it go to its natural conclusion. He laughed. I do like the way you think, Brittany. They spent the entire afternoon at the beach, and he made reservations for a nice steak place there in Galveston for supper. Back in the room, they showered off the sand, dressing immediately after for the supper out. She threw on the only dress she'd taken with her and put her hair up in a messy bun. She added a touch of lipstick, and she was ready. She slipped her glasses on, but realized she really didn't need to wear them if she wasn't around her sisters. Are you attached to the glasses? She asked. He shook his head. Not at all. Wear them if you want, but I sure don't need them. I'm not going to wear them when I'm not with my sisters. I think I'm done. I think that makes a lot of sense, he told her. I'm not going to confuse you with your sisters, even if they're with us. It's not you I'm worried about. It's everyone else. I hate looking exactly like the 2 people I spend most of my time with. But now I won't be spending most of my time with them. There will be shows and practices, but nothing else. It feels freeing. She put her glasses on the counter in the bathroom, and they headed out to supper. They ordered their food, and while they waited, Matt looked at her, desperately wanting her to declare her undying love for him. When he realized that he hadn't said the words to her yet, it made sense, though. She thought he'd asked her to marry him for Olivia's sake, and the first time he had. After that, it had been all about his love for her. While we were driving, you told me you wanted Stephanie to be able to marry for love, and I want you to know that I did. You did what? Brittany wasn't sure what was wrong with the man, but he was making no sense to her. I married for love. I married you because I can't imagine being with anyone else for the rest of my life. The way you are with Olivia is just a bonus. I love you, and I just need you to know that. She smiled. I was hoping that was the case, because I love you with everything inside of me. I had no idea how I was going to be able to make it through a marriage with love only on one side. I so desperately wanted to be Olivia's aunt, but if her uncle had been anyone else in the world, I wouldn't have felt that way. She covered his hand with hers. I love you, Matt. He breathed a sigh of relief. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for you to say that. Well, you could have said it. I was waiting for you. I wondered if that was the case, so that's why I told you. I figured if I got everything out in the open, then maybe you would, too. Brittany nodded. Good choice. Her phone rang at that moment, and she glanced down at it. Stephanie. It's Steph. I have to take it. Something might be wrong with Olivia. She answered. Hello? Hey. Olivia wanted me to call you and tell you that she's having a great time with me, and you can stop worrying that I'm not as good with kids as you are, because she says I'm amazing. Brittany laughed. I'm glad to hear it. Tell her I miss her. Will do. Enjoy yourself. Stephanie hung up after that, and Brittany shook her head. Olivia needed me to know that Stephanie is a good babysitter, and they're having a good time. Matt smiled. I'm glad to hear it. Maybe we can talk her into doing this again sometime. Oh, I'm sure we can. Just not this week. Brittany frowned for a moment as she realized they hadn't used any kind of birth control. Do you want more kids? Matt nodded. I'd like to give Olivia a few cousins. Are you wanting kids right off? She shook her head. No, I'm really not, and I just realized I've done nothing about that. Well, I can use something for the weekend. Maybe you could see a doctor this week though? And we'll both pray it hasn't happened yet. I do want kids, but I don't want to have them just when my career is taking off. I want to be able to put everything I have into my music and working with my sisters. Does that make me a selfish wife? He laughed. Not at all. I think that makes you very realistic. I want you to be ready when our kids are born. I don't want you resenting them. Good. I know Emily is planning to wait a few years as well. She actually had a big fight with Chris's mother about that, and he told his mother off from what I understand. Matt smiled. I think every new mother-in-law needs to be told off at least once. Not a really nice mother-in-law. I've heard they exist. I hope you're right. They got ice cream after they finished eating and walked slowly back to the hotel together, hand in hand. Galveston was set up more for walking than for driving anyway. I'm glad we took a couple of days, just the two of us. As much as I love Olivia, I think we needed to get to know one another without her here, she said. I agree. Everything I learn about you only makes me love you more. Brittany smiled. She had truly met and married the only man in the world she needed. Someday they would have children and give Olivia cousins. Someday. But she had a feeling that day wouldn't be coming anytime soon. And that was just fine with her.